I'm here to give you an update on our injured players, and then most specifically at the end here, Henrik Zetterberg. Jared McIsaac, young prospect, sprained his shoulder in the prospect tournament. He'll be out 3 to 4 weeks. He can go back to junior and should be back playing in a month. Mike Green saw Dr. Camissa in New York 2 days ago. Dr. Camissa gave him the green light for full contact, so he's going to work his way back here, and at the end of preseason we expect him to play 2 or 3 games at the end of our preseason games. Justin Abdelkader will not be here today. He went to Detroit this morning. His wife went to the hospital last night. She's due to give birth at any point in time here in the next day or two, so he went to be with her. And obviously the news on Henrik Zetterberg, you're going to see Henrik in a few minutes. He went to see Dr. Camissa in New York last week, and after consulting with Dr. Camissa, after consulting with Doug Plagans, he's made a decision that he's not prepared to take the risk to play professional hockey anymore. He's got a degenerative condition in his back. Part of the degenerative condition is significant arthritis. Nothing can be done to, no back surgery, no rehab, no more time off is going to have any positive impact. And if he does have, obviously if he plays professional hockey, it's going to accelerate the degeneration. And if he does get a bad hit or something, then he's risking a significant back surgery. And Henrik has decided that his quality of life is more important than taking the risk of a back surgery. So Hank is going to be out here in a few minutes to, if you can ask his questions, but basically we're moving forward, and Henrik, appears that his career's over.
How emotional is that for you to come to that realization?
Well, it's not emotional today because this has been a process in I don't know, in the middle of last year. Henrik went to Coach Blashill and told him that he could no longer practice and play every day, and he wanted to play. And he was able to play all the games, but he couldn't practice. And then I met with him at the end of the year, at the exit meeting, and he said, "Ken, I'm very discouraged. It's getting worse." And I said, Z, take some time off. Let me talk to you in a couple of months. And that was probably late April, early May. So I called him on just before the draft. So say June the 20th. He said, "Ken, I haven't worked out." And then I said, "Well, we'll talk to you again." So for me, it's been, and I'm sure for Henrik, it's been stages. So I would say to you that, for me, the emotional part a little bit was probably when I met with him in the exit meetings at the end of April, when he told me he was very discouraged and not optimistic at all. I was trying to buy time in the hopes that things would change, but nothing's changed. And when he went to see Dr. Camissa, who performed the back surgery on him in 2014 and took current pictures, it's degenerative and there's nothing that can be done. So for me, it's not emotional today. It was maybe emotional, 2-3 months ago in the realization that what we're talking about here today was probably the direction that we're heading.
What does his absence mean for your team?
Well, he's a massive hole for a variety of reasons. On the ice, he's still. It's like I said last night, or I told our guys yesterday. I think last year he was the 5th leading forward in terms of minutes, 5-on-5 in the National Hockey League last year. Obviously played all 82 games, so somebody has to eat up all those minutes. And it's not only those minutes. It's when we're trying to go younger, and we're going to move some more young people. You need role models, and there's no better role model than Henrik Zetterberg. And then the other thing that he did was, obviously we had a tough year last year. When the game is over, as you all know, whenever we had a loss, he's the stand-up guy, and he was answering all the questions on behalf of the team. He's not there now. Somebody else, when we lose a game, is gonna have to answer the questions, and might be some of the younger guys. And when you're a young player, you're really just trying to figure out how to be a good player and get better versus answering questions for the entire team. And you guys are going to go to somebody, and so he's a massive hole for a lot of reasons. But it's again over the last 3-4 months, Jeff Blash and I have had obviously a lot of time behind the scenes to kind of talk about. I think first off, you're always hoping that you're going to wake up one day and somebody's going to call you and say, you know what, things have changed, I feel better. You're always got that hope. And as time went on, it became apparent that that wasn't going to happen. And so we know that we're losing a major player on and off the ice for our team. So it's with that loss comes opportunity, and there's a tremendous opportunity in terms of ice time for some other people on our team, and hopefully some of the young people are going to take full advantage.
Can you put into perspective his career and what he's meant to this organization?
Well, I think he's one of the greatest Red Wing players in our history. He's got close to 950 points. He's played almost 1,100 games. He's almost a point of game player in the playoffs. When you go to the history of the Red Wings, I think he's 6th or 7th in all-time points and this and that. So he's one of the greatest Red Wing players in my opinion, and in the history of this franchise. And in 2005, obviously, when coming out of the work stoppage, Steve Yzerman was 40-ish, and Shanahan and Fedorov, basically Lidstrom and Zetterberg and Datsyuk carried this franchise for another decade. He carried the torch, and obviously when Lidstrom retired, he became the captain. So he's one of the greatest Red Wing players, in my opinion, of this storied franchise.
Ken, moving forward, are you planning on putting Henrik on long-term IR?
Yes. Yeah.
What are you doing as far as, are you going to give Frans Nielsen an A, or?
I've talked to Blash a little bit about it. We're going to go through training camp. We'll just make the decision as to what we do in terms of letters before the season starts. We wanted to get everybody into camp and get going here. I'm not sure if we'll have a captain, if we'll just go with all assistants. We're going to make that decision here over the next 3 weeks.
Did it help? You kind of knew this was coming. It's not a blindside thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Did that kind of, as far as maybe with Jeff too, just preparing for the season, that it's not like you're losing somebody you really thought would be in the lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I talked to Henrik at the end of the season. Obviously Blash talked to him over the course of the last season. I talked to him again in the middle of June. Nothing changed from January, February to April, and then after having 2 months off with doing nothing, nothing changed. So it became apparent as we headed towards July the 1st that we were heading in this direction. Again, like I said to John, you're always hoping that you're going to wake up one day in the middle of July and the phone's going to ring and it's Z and say, you know what, I feel pretty good. I was in the gym for every day for a week, and I'm going to kind of take this on a test run. That call never came. So I would say to you, you're holding out hope, but we certainly realized that this was the direction that we were heading towards. So.
Did you wait until this moment to announce this because you were holding out hope?
Well, we waited until now. We wanted him to see Dr. Kamissa in New York, and he saw Dr. Kamissa late last week, and Dr. Kamissa was in consultation with Dr. Plagans. So really, it was the big decision, for lack of a better word, was going to come when Henrik saw Dr. Kamissa, who performed the surgery on his back, who was going to look at current pictures compared to old pictures. And he's a back specialist that Henrik chose in 2014. and he trusted. He did a great job, and within 11 weeks after that surgery, he came back and played the last 2 playoff games. So, I mean, I guess he could have come back and saw Dr. Kamissa in August, but ultimately it was more about when he saw Dr. Kamissa, and Doug Plagens, Dr. Kamissa, and Henrik could make this decision.
Do you believe Z will maintain a leadership role on the team?
Well, I don't know how much he's going to be around. You know, you can ask him here when he comes. I'm not sure what he's planning. I think it's hard to be a leader when you don't. You got to be in the locker room. You got to be in the dressing room in order to be a leader. He's certainly, when past captains and past great players come, there's certainly a respect level for those people. But in terms of leading, you need to be in the locker room on an everyday basis in terms to lead people, and so it would be difficult to lead. But certainly, he's teammates with all those guys. But I also think, it's when he's not there now, we're looking at a different group of people to see how we can form the chemistry in the locker room and who's going to take sort of the leadership role in the locker room.
Ken, have you or Henrik addressed the team yet, and how have his teammates taken the news?
No, you're going to see him here in a few minutes. No, I told the team yesterday that it looked like at the meeting to start training camp that it was I don't want to come out and tell them. You guys are whispering in their ear all the time. So I had to make sure that So I told them it looked like Henrik was done, or it's certainly done for a short period of time. And that on one hand, obviously it's a massive downer, but on the other hand, as we move forward, there's an opportunity for somebody in that locker room from a leadership standpoint and from time on the ice to grab it.